Yeah. And it's.
Well, Claudia's an expert using ChatGPT. So
Claudia,
He's an expert on things that change all the time.
The letter merely gave it the URL for the website and said, could you please write a thank you letter for 2025 donors based on the activities you see happening at our organization at this website, and it did it. That was like so lazy, I couldn't even believe it. I was curious to see what it did. I had it do an analysis of our spreadsheet for the center. It was way too elaborate, and it was, geared towards a business that was trying to turn a profit, so it was kind of not useful, but it was sort of.
Well, you can do that too.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't need to do anymore, but I could have said, could you just like dumb this down?
Want to do a short opening?
All right. But that's not why we're here.
We're not here because of ChatGPT, but it does play a part.
Well, it's what's happening in our world.
It's what's happening. Oh my goodness.
I need to get on the Zoom, so just give me a sec.
Okay.
I got caught up defending my position with Tom.
I don't think.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so, I don't think I was tracking the dates of the commemoration or the observation and the celebration of Buddha's birth and enlightenment. And if anybody on this chat but we're in it with the full moon yesterday, I think. Now for the next, depending on the tradition between this full moon and the next full moon, the planet and the worlds that have enjoyed the enlightening presence of Buddha Shakyamuni are celebrating that he came, he taught, he spread the Dharma, he achieved enlightenment. And it's said that during this time, it's especially important to engage in actions of the body, speech, and mind that generate goodwill and non-harming and helping behaviors of body, speech, and mind as a way of reaffirming your commitment to your own transformation and thereby amplifying your efforts in this heightened time of energy according to the tradition. So with that in mind, just kind of call to mind that you are surrounded right now by sentient beings in every direction. You have a strong karmic connection with the ones that you'll encounter on this planet, and perhaps even in the solar system or universe. Who knows? But we're very strongly connected to every person, animal, insect, everything that exists and lives on this planet. And so feel their presence when you're among them, your same brother and sister who have determined to follow the path that has been shown to be quite beneficial in terms of achieving fulfilling existence. Fulfilling for all sentient beings, bringing happiness, creativity, joy to yourself and to others. And to sort of get a sense of the responsibility you've taken up to fulfill your highest potential. And what it will mean to all of these sentient beings to be inspired and helped by you as you lighten the load of the cosmos by pursuing your own enlightenment. And you're inspired now, visualize, included in this, Buddha Shakyamuni there, sort of in the center of all this, radiating out, encouraging energy of love, fearlessness, joy. And recognize that your presence is essential to the fulfillment of Buddha Shakyamuni's intention for the cosmos. And you are devoted to following, actualizing your potential. And with that in mind, you know that you're relying on the inspiration and the wisdom of Buddha Shakyamuni. And so, finally, we will take refuge in these enlightening motivations. I go for refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the positive potential I create by listening to teachings and the other paramitas. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the positive potential I create by listening to teachings and the other paramitas. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the positive potential I create by listening to teachings and the other paramitas. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. And just imagine all sentient beings, yourself, everybody is quite joyful that we've made this commitment and we're on our way and we're bringing ourselves and every being along with us. I think that's all.
Okay.
Christopher said to keep it short. So, Flavio, I got your email just as I was sitting down for class and responded.
Oh, I responded to him earlier.
Okay. But I see that you are there in a field of flowers. It's very nice.
Wow, that is nice. All right. We are now on to a new section of chapter 11, and this is about it's the vast path of enlightenment, which is the Mahayana, means the great vehicle, Mahayana, great vehicle. And it's talking about why this great vehicle it matters for everyone. So we'll start right in with the verses that open it. I'll read the first. Well, I'll read an introduction to the verses. So, at the deepest level, all of the traditional practitioners on the path of Buddhism, they all, whether they're hearers or solitary realizers or bodhisattvas, they all have a realization of the same emptiness. There's not a different kind of emptiness. So, the nature of reality doesn't change depending upon who is seeing it. The nature of reality is what it is. We don't make reality, in other words. We're part of reality. So the nature of reality doesn't change, whether it's a solitary realizer realizing emptiness or a bodhisattva realizing emptiness, it doesn't change. What differs between these three is the scope of compassion or the scope of the heartfelt compassion that goes along with that particular path. So what we're talking about in the Mahayana path is huge, vast compassion, a really, really huge heart to develop. And so bodhisattvas, uniquely among these groups, they cultivate two what we call vast collections. One is merit, and merit is basically compassion in action, generosity, ethics, but all put into action. That would be the merit or the what they call the compassion wing, the merit wing or the compassion wing. And then there is the wisdom wing, which is the realization of the nature of existence, the nature of reality, a direct realization of that. So the bodhisattva collects these two vast what do they call them? Collections. They call it collections of merit and wisdom. And they only become the collections of merit and wisdom when they're motivated by bodhicitta. And bodhicitta is the mind that intends or aspires to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, no exceptions. So it's different than, solitary realizers. They're looking for a way out. for themselves, as the same with hearers is way out. But the Bodhisattva path, the Mahayana path, is not a way out. It's a way to help everyone realize their true nature and realize the nature of existence without exception. Um, so if you don't have that kind of expansive motivation, then even good intentions.
Can you just go back and just repeat what you just said?
My light is flickering. Is it going to
I
go out?
was, I think Don was, you know, with our delightful friends arriving, it's worth.
Okay. Bodhisattvas collect two vast collections, merit and wisdom, whereas the other sort of like hearers and solitary realizers, they're not focused so much on that. They're just looking to get out of samsara. But this vast collection of merit is huge compassion for all beings. So the bodhisattvas have this intention to become enlightened for the benefit of all beings, to help all beings wake up, in other words, to reality. Do you notice this light flickering?
You want another light bulb?
Yeah, I don't think there's another. There may not be another light bulb that's bright like this. It may just be a warm light bulb.
Oh.
So I can just.
That's better.
It's a little better. It's flickering less. Now I have a big black spot.
That's not good.
Okay, well I can just turn it off there.
There you go.
It's
Okay.
fine.
All right.
That's perfect.
Okay. Oh, now it's a purple spot. Okay.
Halos.
All right. So Nagarjuna is talking about in this next verse is a difficult but important part of this is that not everyone immediately recognizes or appreciates the Mahayana path. They don't recognize it. So here's the first verse. And I'll read this first verse just once, the Jeffrey Hopkins, and then from now on, going past this, I'll read the modern renderings because it just will take less time. And the modern renderings are much easier to understand. Since the collections of merit and wisdom of bodhisattvas were taught by the one gone thus, that's the Buddha, in the great vehicle, that's the Mahayana, those who are bewildered about the full extent of the paths and fruits of the great vehicle deride them out of antagonism. Here's the modern rendering. The Buddha clearly taught the vast path of compassion and wisdom in the great vehicle, the Mahayana. But people who don't understand its full scope sometimes dismiss or criticize it out of confusion. So this is talking about how greatness or a vastness can actually feel threatening to some people, threatening even to us, who are on the Mahayana path. And this verse is still incredibly current. If people come across a path that's asking for everything, I mean everything, not just your personal peace, but total dedication to others, and we're not talking about just humans. We're talking about all others, total dedication to others. That can feel really overwhelming or even just unrealistic. When you first hear that, that's like, whoa, come on, really? Total dedication to all beings. So what happens is that some people will dismiss that as just being, that is way too idealistic. That won't work. It's too idealistic. Others actually say that's not authentic Buddhism. Mahayana is not authentic Buddhism, and there are sects of Buddhism that will point to that, and they'll say that's not authentic. That was sort of made up later, Mahayana. And then there's some who just say that's not for me. Total dedication to all other beings, without exception, is just not for me. And so that's just how people respond to it. Nagarjuna's point is not to judge that reaction, not to judge it, but to actually explain it. So he's going into the explanation of why people would react this way. So when something is unfamiliar to us, we often react to it with doubt or resistance or criticism. I mean, that's one of the, we always think we're right. And so if we come up with something that doesn't make sense to us, we immediately criticize it. And so this is what we do. And this happens in many areas today in life. People criticize things because it's just too vast, too big. Like, if you're talking about climate change and we have to do all these things to adjust the climate and it's all the fault of humans, well, that seems just too vast. And a lot of people will criticize that. Um, or they'll dismiss compassion-based leadership in any field, whether it's political or business. Compassion-based leadership is just naive. That's naive. It doesn't actually happen. It won't work. So people criticize that. Or people will resist inner work, deep inner work, because it threatens their identity. It's going to make them look at themselves in a way they don't really want to. And those are things that, often happen. So the Mahayana vehicle can trigger similar kinds of responses. Because what it's asking us to do is to move away from a self-centered view of the world. And we've been having this self-centered view of the world like forever. The way it's all set up, we feel like we are this separate identity, me, and therefore it's very natural to be self-centered. And so it's asking us to not do this partially, but to have a other-centered view completely. And that seems just huge. Like, can we even do that? So as a reflection for ourselves, when we hear about, dedicating our whole life, or you hear about dedicating your whole life to the welfare of all beings, what's your first reaction? Are you interested in that? Do you have doubts about that? Does that bring up resistance? Or does it inspire you? Whatever reaction you have, what is that showing you? What is that showing you? And that's just for us to individually think about. So now we're going to go to the next verse. Then I'll go right to the modern rendering. People reject the great vehicle in three main ways. They don't recognize compassion as strength. That's the first one. They mistake it for weakness. Or they simply don't like it. They simply don't like it. So even some who know helping others is good still criticize it. They criticize the path and they turn away from the very qualities that they admire and value. So he's talking about three ways that we miss what actually matters. The first way that we miss what matters is we don't recognize good qualities. That's the first one. We don't recognize good qualities. Some people genuinely don't see why living for others is meaningful. Genuinely don't see that. Because in our world, what we emphasize is we emphasize personal success, independence, and optimizing ourselves, doing everything we can to make ourselves better. That's what is emphasized in our world. So when we're talking about a life that's centered on all others, it seems strange. It seems unnecessary. You could say, why put others first? Why should I do that? We need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves first, and then deal with others. So why put others first? That's very, very common. I used to say that myself. Why should I do this? Why should I, just forsake everything for some people I don't even know? Animals, beings I don't even know. So it is important. Self-care is important. But Nagarjuna is pointing to something deeper than just self-care. That if a life is centered only on yourself, that life is inherently limited. Your life is limited. If you're only going to center it on yourself, it's limited. The second of the three ways we miss what happens is we mistake what's good for being bad. This one is very relevant today because compassion is sometimes seen as weakness. Compassion is weak. Or we can see compassion as being emotionally vulnerable. You know, people just going to be a pool of tears if you're a compassionate person. Or compassion means lack of boundaries. And that's big, lack of boundaries. So that's the way in our world we see it. But in the Bodhisattva path, compassion isn't passive, it's fierce, it's stable, and it's very, very strong and courageous. So examples would be like a doctor who works long hours to save a patient, or somebody who genuinely and happily takes up caring for someone else. Say it's like someone else who needs help, and you become their caregiver, or say like a teacher who is always shows up for a student who's having problems or difficulties. The teacher is always there for those students. That's compassion. Um, Someone who can, in a hostile environment, and in today's world, we could easily find ourselves in hostile environments if we're in a group of people that are on one side or the other, right? Someone who's in a hostile environment can still be kind, you know, still be kind, choose to be kind rather than to get into the friction. So those aren't weak actions. They require strength. That kind of compassion is not weak at all. It requires strength. So then there's the third category is just disliking goodness itself. This is the third category in which we can miss what matters. We dislike goodness itself. And this is the most subtle one. This is the most subtle one, and it's the most uncomfortable one because it challenges our habits, it challenges our identity, it challenges our comfort zones. So, example, we may admire generosity in theory, but are very reticent to actually give away something. We may think, it's okay, but we don't do it. Or we may value compassion. Compassion is great, but we avoid difficult people all the time. Well, I'm getting out of here. So and so coming over, I'm out of here. We avoid difficult people. So it's subtle. We kind of fool ourselves, right? Compassion doesn't avoid anything like that. So Nagarjuna is gently but firmly making a point. Rejecting the Mahayana, the great vehicle, isn't just misunderstanding. It can be a resistance. It's a resistance, and this is very, very subtle. It's a resistance to transformation itself. We see something so great like that, it means I'm really going to have to change. And we have a resistance to change. We do, although things change constantly. But we have this resistance to transformation. So there are traditions that talk about compassion a lot, even within Buddhism and other traditions talk about compassion, but not to the same degree as the Mahayana vehicle talks about compassion. The Mahayana vehicle, it's not replacing those earlier traditions. What it is it's developing them, developing it to its fullest, its most beneficial level, most profound level. So another thing that we can just think about here for ourselves is, where in your life do you recognize that compassion is valuable, but still hesitate to fully embody it? I mean, just for your own self, think of things that you go, yeah, compassion is valuable, but there are certain things where you still hesitate to be compassionate. They're like blocks. So here's the next modern rendering of the next verse. Rejecting the path that prioritizes others' well-being cuts us off from the very source of goodness and happiness. So some people misunderstand emptiness and they just sort of don't get it, or they run away from it. Others reject it outright. You know, so if even those who mean well can go astray, what happens when somebody actively opposes the teachings? So this is about misunderstanding emptiness and why it matters. And it's one of the most important sections, and it's the easiest to misunderstand. So we're going to unpack this a little bit. So why is rejecting the Mahayana vehicle so serious? It's because it rejects compassion as a central value. If you're rejecting the Mahayana vehicle, you're rejecting compassion as a central vehicle. And the other reason is, if you're rejecting the Mahayana, you're rejecting wisdom that is as being the nature of reality. We're talking about the nature of existence, the nature of reality. And if we're rejecting the Mahayana path, we're rejecting that. We're rejecting the nature of reality, and we're rejecting this compassion, this great compassion.
What is the nature of
The
reality?
nature of reality is that nothing exists independently, everything exists interconnectedly, and it's empty of any kind of independent self-existence. And it goes into deeper and deeper
Right.
levels, but that's the nature of reality. And so if we're rejecting Mahayana, we're rejecting that.
Why?
Because if you reject that everything is interconnected and interdependent, then you're rejecting Mahayana. If you're saying everything exists independently, it is the way it is out there, that's a rejection of the Mahayana, and you're closing yourself off to understanding actually, and as we've talked about very logically, why things are interconnected, why they are interdependent, why they are empty of any kind of independent self-existence, and how the subject and object and all of the layers that we put onto everything, this non-dual way of seeing, of understanding the way things exist. We're rejecting all of that if we go, that's for the birds. Things exist the way they appear.
No, isn't that all included in the Theravada traditions?
Not that view, no. The emptiness view is not.
Emptiness is not part of the.
Not in the same way. And it doesn't in the Theravada doesn't include compassion at the same level, that vast level. And those traditions, it's about getting out of liberating oneself from the suffering of cyclic existence and into a nirvana, a state of nirvana, which is this, it's a solitary state. That's what it's about, those earlier ones. Whereas the Mahayana is about becoming enlightened, not to have some kind of solitary peace or solitary happiness, but to be a benefit to all beings. So it's not to just sit there and zone out. That's not what the Mahayana is about. So it's very vast. It's huge. It's big. It's not escaping from something.
I wonder if that's the definition of happiness. Feeling happy is zoning out.
Well, a lot of people today think that's the case, so they smoke a lot of pot. I'm going to zone out. It's going to make me happy. I'm going to have a drink, zone out. I'm going to watch TV, watch my favorite shows, zone out. But does it actually bring us happiness? In the long term, it's just a distraction. And in some cases can cause huge suffering. So that's the point about all of this. We have to have a bigger view.
But isn't that how happiness is defined and lived in our society?
Well, the society.
How do you mean?
Of a single liberation. Isn't that what happiness is? It is
In our-
defined,
Right.
and how much of it are we acculturated to that? I mean, are we thinking, oh, I have free time, I'm going to watch my show, even though it might not be invigorating to my mind, it might not be of a higher vibration, it might even be a lower vibration, but I'm going to watch it because it's my free time.
Right.
Or I'm just going to do what I want to do regardless of my spouse's feelings or whoever's feelings. Is
Right.
that's happiness.
That's
defined in our
happiness.
country, it
That's
seems like in our
happiness.
society.
Based on thinking that things are objectively exist out there the way they appear, and I objectively exist as this separate self, and what matters most is me, and I got to look out for me. Why I can't worry about others. I need to look out for me, and it's not recognizing at this at every level imaginable, we are dependently arising beings. We would not exist a day without all of the other humans.
Anyway, your
You know.
point is that that's,
Yeah.
I think you're both saying the
Yeah.
same thing. That's a mistaken way of living.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
I just wonder how habituated we are to that.
We're very habituated.
Yeah, right?
That's it.
Extremely habituated.
It's normal.
In our
We
school
are-
system, that's find your bliss, find your happiness, whatever.
Find your passion.
Yeah. And that-
According to Buddhism,
Yes.
according to Buddhism, we've been habituated to that view since beginningless time. And this whole samsaric realm, if you want to put it that way, has arisen out of ego, me, mine, self. That's what it's about. That's why it seems so normal. But it causes all these problems.
I've got this image of this one story that I remember is very simplistic, but it is really profound. And it was a description of the difference between samsara and an enlightened realm. And in samsara, they're using the metaphor of hunger. So everybody needs to eat. And in samsara, the problem is that your fork is so long, you can't feed yourself. And so you're always in the state of hunger
Or the small throat.
with this long fork that you can't.
Mhm.
This is the condition of samsara, always needing, feeling unfulfilled. And then, this God realm or this purified realm, the beings there have the same fork, but they figured out that all they have to do is shift their attention and they can just feed each other, no problem.
I love that.
So it's a complete
Wow.
problem solved.
It's shift your view,
Wow.
right? From being
It's a
centered.
stupid metaphor, but
I love
if
it.
you kind of extrapolate it and apply it in more subtle and nuanced ways, you can sort of see
It's a great metaphor.
throughout your day almost even.
That's
But that
really-
throws our world upside down. That's a total.
Completely.
But something like that in our school system, that they would teach that and give them the first of every year they would go in and say, okay, I want you to let paper rounds, and see how they come along over the years. For your period like high school.
So I mean, we're used
I
to
like
being
that.
asked to
Yeah.
do things. Could you please do this? Could you please do that? Well, a bodhisattva doesn't wait to be asked. A bodhisattva's just attention is on the lookout. Oh, you're hungry.
What needs to be done?
Long fork.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very, very
Like
good point.
that.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
It's a very good
love
point.
that.
Both of those are beautiful.
Mhm.
It's silly, but you can.
Well, it's a simple image for us to remember and to call to mind.
Last time Geshe Nima, every time Geshe Nima has been here, he really emphasized the notion of living your life from an other-centered perspective. And that wasn't meant to be just like sometimes. It's just like moment by moment, just like start to habituate yourself to like entering a room of people, a lunch, a class, and you're immediately thinking always, how can I uplift this group as we
Without
sit here
expectation.
together,
It's
trying
also-
to.
It's creating trust too.
Yeah.
I trust you to feed me. I trust that you will feed me.
Or without expectation.
I'm just thinking of the feeding each other metaphor. It's
Well, if you happen to land in that realm, you'll already be there. You'll be feeding. So you won't even be thinking about it because you'll be busy feeding everything.
The realm of the long course.
You won't even give it a thought.
yeah.
You won't even think.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing to think about though?
But that's good to think. that way. It's really good to think that way.
I mean, there's not even a thought that you're hungry.
Mhm.
You're just automatically, by virtue of the dynamic in that
Well,
realm.
they call it samadhi, right? When you're
I-
focused on something, you forget to eat. You forget to when you're in the zone.
Yeah, samadhi is this intense
Yeah, you
focus.
just like you're doing art or you're just like I didn't even eat today. I mean, I'm just so happy. I'm feeding or I'm helping others.
And yeah, it'd be like that.
It'd be so.
Somebody would feed you.
I don't know, if you've ever been in a crisis, I don't
Yeah,
know.
you go.
If you've ever been in a crisis where you were absolutely needed, I don't know, I've had this experience, and you're not really thinking about your needs so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're just,
Yeah.
you know what? That day when we were all clearing, the woods had fallen down through an ice storm. I think everybody was just going, "Oh my God, we have a catastrophe," right? I mean, Claudia was there. It was sort of like we weren't thinking about it. We were just like, "Holy shit, I am needed here."
Okay, there are two types of misunderstanding. And the first is the sincere but confused type. And these are people who believe in emptiness. They want to understand reality. But they mistakenly think that emptiness means nothing exists, nothing matters, and cause and effect aren't real. And this is a classic misunderstanding, but it's happening even today. And I remember when we were first starting our Buddhism studies with Geshe Dragpa back in 2005 or 6, there was one student, and this student was hearing about emptiness and was conflating it or confusing it with a New Age kind of view that this person had been previously very into. And I remember this person saying, "Well, it's all empty, so it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Nothing matters." And that is the furthest thing from the truth. The furthest thing from the truth. Of course it matters, because exactly what we've been talking about. If we understand that nothing exists independently, that everything exists interconnectedly, of course that matters. Then it becomes, oh yes, let me help the whole situation, because helping the whole situation is actually going to help me. It helps all of us. It lifts all of us up. When we realize that it's emptiness means interconnection, interdependence, empty of being independent, then it changes everything. It's not nihilism. It's not nothing exists. And it's not at all meaning that cause and effect don't exist. Cause and effect absolutely exists. We see it all the time. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. So that's a mistaken view. But people will do that, and they'll use it as a means to avoid looking at their inner selves. If they just go, well, nothing matters, nothing exists anyway, I don't even need to deal with this problem. It doesn't matter. And so that's kind of a laziness or a spiritual bypassing, you might say,
I'm gonna just say that my understanding of how things exist is that everything matters. I mean, if you let somebody in line in front of you when you're rolling your cart at HEB, if you bother to let the wasp out the door instead of kill it. I mean, each of these tiny, teeny things, if you arrange your room nicely when visitors are coming, or even when they're not coming. I mean, I think it's sort of like if you were in I don't have in the ocean and you move one thing, the entire ocean.
Yeah, everything gets affected. Yeah.
I mean, we don't really see it.
We don't see how fluid all of this is, but it is very fluid.
Every small virtuous thing, every small virtuous thing you do. Be nice to your mom and do what she says without arguing. Send waves throughout the cosmos. That inspires other beings to also be kind and helpful.
Yeah.
And not selfish and unhelpful.
Here's the second type of misunderstanding. This is the rejecting type. This is the type that actively resists the idea of emptiness, and the call to be other-centered. And this is because this kind of resistance says, why should I give up my comfort? Why should others come first? This is too much for me. This goes back to the foundation of samsaric existence is the ego. Me, 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 mine, mine, mine. We have to realize that that's what the problem is. Because me, 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 mine, mine, mine does not take into account interconnectedness and interdependence. It's the complete opposite of it. So we're in the complete opposite world of what the Mahayana path is trying to bring us out of, or bring us into. So Nagarjuna is using very strong language here in his original text. He says that if you reject the Mahayana, it's going to force you. You will be burning. But he's talking. He's not talking about punishment when he's talking about the burning. He's talking about what happens if we reject compassion and we reject wisdom. If we reject compassion, what's going to happen is we will remain isolated. If we reject compassion, we become isolated. If we reject wisdom, we become confused. We will remain confused. And those conditions, isolation and confusion, are what lead to suffering. Isolation and confusion. Those lead to suffering. And, here we're talking about the most important kind of suffering actually is the suffering of the mind, the suffering of the consciousness, because everything is arising from the consciousness. So if we feel confused and isolated, we're going to feel suffering. It will lead to that. So a modern parallel to this is if you think of somebody who won't or refuses to manage their emotions, they just do whatever they want, say whatever they want to anybody whenever they want to say it. They refuse to reflect upon themselves or reflect upon who they are and what's going on, right? And they prioritize themselves over everything else. It's all about me. This is what I need, right? That person then is going to become isolated. What's going to happen is their relationships are going to suffer. Of course they're going to suffer. We all know people like this. You don't even want to be around them. They're terrible at relationships. So their relationships will suffer. And the meaning of those relationships for them will diminish. And their isolation is only going to increase. So people like that who are so, how I mentioned, and we all know people like that, they wind up being kind of alone, isolated, or with somebody else who's just as bitchy, and they're very, very unhappy. So this is pointing to what he's saying here in this text. We need to not turn away from the Mahayana, not reject it. Rejecting it means going in the opposite direction. So he's not saying it's some kind of judgment. This isolation and confusion and unhappiness. It's not some kind of judgment coming from out there upon the person who's being this way. It's simply cause and effect. That's all it is. It's the behavior, the cause has an effect. We have to understand this for ourselves. Everything we think, say, and do is a cause that will have an effect. And we have to look at what is our intention there with the cause. So that becomes, really, really important.
And even if we have an intention, typically we just have a motive. That's what Nagarjuna says.
A motive.
He says all suffering comes from motive. We're being moved. We don't really have an intention.
I see what you're saying. We're not taking control of the reins, in other words. We're just being pulled along or moved along
by fantasy or underlying belief.
Yeah.
That's where wisdom would come into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. which is when you're in a fantasy, it's kind of hard to remember.
Oh, Fantasyland.
Yes. It's like, oh, I went.
Well, you know, the Fantasyland can be fun for a while, but after, you know, it can also just get very repetitive and monotonous and meaningless, you know, because that's all it is fantasy. So the next verse, the modern rendering of it is, now he's talking about this medicine metaphor. Just like medicine sometimes uses a small toxin to cure a larger illness, temporary hardship can remove far greater suffering in the future. It's talking about how discomfort can be compassionate. So it's his verse is addressing a practical concern that many of us would have. Why would a path ask me to endure difficulty? And I remember having this thought when I first embarked on this path. I was thinking, all right, I just don't want to have to suffer too much on this, you know. And this idea, why would a path ask me to endure difficulty? And that's a very fair question. So there's this medical analogy that Nagarjuna is giving. And it's an analogy that we already all accept as a principle in daily life. Surgery causes pain, but you know it can also save us, save our lives, right? Physical therapy often hurts, but the results are that we have much more movement. We're freer, right? We know this. Here's a big one. Honest conversations with one another can be very difficult, but what they actually do is they can lead to a closer relationship. So these are all kinds of things like medicine. They're kind of difficulties that we want to turn away from and avoid, but actually are going to lead to a better result.
And are they actually difficult?
They're difficult in our mind. They're difficult in our mind. Our ego is afraid of them. Our ego always wants to be perfect. Right. I'm right all the time. No, 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 no. But this way is sort of opening up, you're beginning to question yourself. And that's very healthy. It's very healthy. You know, maybe I'm wrong. And so you're questioning yourself and you're opening up in different ways. And that can lead to development. You know,
And does the path have to be discomfortable? It seems like no more discomfort than you're already feeling typically.
Well, nothing gets too, once you become habituated to something, it's not that difficult. You know, having an honest conversation with someone, if you're habituated to it, is not difficult. If it's new for you, then that's very difficult. But over time, then it becomes, you know, a pleasure.
But then again, that difficulty, as you said, is just in your mind, possibly.
It's all in our mind.
Because it's just taking that baby step or intention, right? Stretching out. And it's just unfamiliar.
Right.
Perhaps maybe there is no difficulty. Maybe the difficulty is in our mind.
It's where it always is.
I'm not saying it's not, what's the word? Where it's unfamiliar, and I guess the question is, where do you invite the joy and invite the inner peace to take that step? Is that what we're needing?
Well, it's always going to be, you're going to see the results of this. I mean, I'll use a very personal example that Kavita and I are been working on right now. You know, we're doing the bossa nova music and we're singing it in people's living rooms. And when we first started doing this, it was extremely difficult. And several times, both of us said, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can play these Brazilian rhythms in one hand and sing a completely different thing out of my mouth. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But we persevered because we knew that it would be a very good thing to do and the results would be beneficial. And so over time, we've been able to jump those hurdles, and we realize now, this is just going to get better. If we keep working at it, it's going to be better. And so it becomes there's more joy in it. less discouragement. So it takes actually, this is what Buddhism calls practice.
And what was your intention, if I may ask?
The intention was, because our world right now is so divided, and these camps of people who are angry at one another all the time. This particular music is about, it's about love, it's about beauty, it's about nature, and it's about something that everybody can get behind and feel good when they hear it and are exposed to it. And particularly with family, we wanted to do that. Because within our own family, there are these divisions.
So
You can't talk about certain things.
how much of your intention do you think helped you to face that difficulty?
All of it. It's all the intention. It's like anybody. It's like a little kid who wants to become a big basketball star. And they're just starting out, trying to learn how to dribble and try to get the ball in the hoop, and they're making mistakes all the time, but they have this intention. They know, I want to be this thing. I want to do this thing. So they keep practicing. And as we know, practice makes possible. You keep practicing something, whether it's music or art or sports or science or you name it, you keep practicing that thing. If you have the intention that you want to reach that goal, it's going to happen. It'll eventually happen. One day you'll go, oh, how do you know? I'm a professional whatever, and that's all due to that intention and the desire to better yourself, And especially if you're taking this into the Bodhisattva path, it relates directly to it. Your intention and desire to not only better yourself, but the entire vast cosmos. I mean, it's the biggest intention one could have. It's huge. This is why this is so vast and can be so overwhelming sometimes. But it's no different than the kid who wants to become a great basketball player and starts out by practicing. That's what was meant by Buddhist practice. It's not like, oh, I'm going to learn a meditation technique and, in 3 weeks' time, I'm going to find peace. That's not what practice is about. You do it over and over and over with an intention. And slowly over time, things begin to develop. They come together. They make sense. The light goes off in your head. You understand, I really should have a long fork path going this way because it's going to benefit everybody,
Yeah. So in theory, and I get a sense of things, what you're saying, and is that as we get away from centeredness, get away from self-importance, and go more towards I am because we are, our intention gets stronger in a sense. Our facing challenges that benefit all of us are less difficult. It seems.
Yeah. It's just like what I was saying before. We see when we practice what you just said, we practice this in our relationships, and we see over time, yeah, it may be a little rocky or difficult or little bumps at first, but the more we do it, it's like, the more we do it, actually the ball will go in the hoop most of the time. And we see this is making a difference. I can see the effect in myself. I can see the effect in my relationships. And so it inspires you to keep going on the path. That's what Buddhist practice is. That's what Buddhist practice is.
And I
Yeah.
think Chris and Kavita's intention of establishing this center is typical example of the truest intention in my mind. I'm sure you've been through a lot of experiences till now, and we still have, goals in the future. So you two started this. So that's the true intention example I'm taking right now. What is the intention? Kavita and Chris establishing this center, running today, right now, and then with all the visions in the future, what could there be other intention than that?
Yeah.
And if if all of us just keep at it, it will grow,
And that's you two's intention that I see visually right now, which is that's all I need to understand what intention is.
We all do that though.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done that in your own life. You have an intention to do something.
Yeah.
It's maybe difficult and challenging at first, but you just keep at it.
Keep at it, and then just like you said, keep throwing the basketball hoop, and then you'll get the And that's what we're doing right now with your leadership. And it hasn't ended, but we're going to keep going.
That's what the Buddha is telling
Yes.
us. This
And-
is what
and
we
I
do.
think in Buddhism, one of the point in Eightfold Path is the correct intention, true intention.
Mhm.
But I think you have to understand in your deep side the intention. You got to keep refining the intention, which is your path.
Yeah.
There's no this intention versus that intention. I think my intention will be always with me, changing day by day, but for the progress I want.
Yeah.
And that's a form of self-love.
Yeah.
As well as compassion.
Wisdom,
And then
compassion,
understanding
everything.
that all those things go together. And when it comes to emptiness and everything is interdependent,
Yes.
it belongs. We belong to each other. We're in it. We're all of these metaphors you could use, but you need to remind yourself over and over of that over again, because we don't live we're in samsara. So something's always going to come up that's going to give us like, oh, I don't like this. But pushing through is part of
And then
the learning
and the wisdom helps us through all this.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually that view of emptiness is a huge help, because if you switch it around to what it's actually saying, interdependent, interconnected, this is the way actually things exist, then it becomes in one's own self-interest to heal relationships, not to break relationships.
when Kuta was talking about just using the wasp as an example, there's a wasp inside and you open the door and the wasp doesn't leave. So you're just immediately like, well, I'm going to smash you, rather than guarding it out. And that may seem like really irrelevant and, inane. Why would you want to do that? You're going to get stung. Well, unless the wasp is trying to sting you or somebody else,
you have to protect yourself from wasps. Don't be compassionate and let it bite you, but
at the same time,
handle it compassionately. I would just leave the windows and doors open and go in the corner and then wish he leaves.
And blow.
But do something, even shush, but not violently.
Yeah.
With the positive feeling, and it'll go away, and then close the doors and you've done your part.
Exactly.
That's how I take
Now
it.
I feel bad. This is a really example
Oh.
of how Christopher is talking about things progress, because now I feel sorry for the insects that are trapped inside.
Oh God.
How
Yeah,
sad
they're-
that you
they're
got-
trying to get
come on,
out.
you got stuck in this house where you belong out there, and it's sort of your motivation. The motivation is much different. It's like, oh, I gotta hurry and help you get back to where you feel at home.
And that's actually one of the craziest things. I mean, I grew up, oh my God, I grew up in a household where killing bugs was the thing to do. Well, I don't know. Maybe somebody grew up in a different kind of
You
household.
didn't
But
want to see any of
you
your
smash
friends
them
with bugs in your house.
you smash them, you kill them, you whatever. So when I heard this from Buddhism initially, it's like, oh, really? Really? And it's interesting for me now to see the progression that what has occurred with me. Just like Kavita, there was a little bug. I didn't know what it was. It looked like a wasp. It was caught late at night in the mini blinds, and I tried to get it out because I felt bad. It's caught. It wants to get out, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't see it. I lifted up the curtains. I just was like nowhere to be seen. Next morning, I woke up and I opened up the mini blinds, and there was this little bug dead, and I felt like crying. I mean, over a bug? I mean, this is so alien to the way I grew up. And so I brought it outside and I, said a prayer for it and I let it onto the ground. That is such a difference from what I used to
I think
be.
it's the depth of your practice. You feel that connection.
I think that's what I'm trying to
The
say.
depth of the practice, because you understand, like I said, dependent arising and emptiness and all that. I think your depth of understanding is making you get that much connected to that, versus somebody else with less practice and less wisdom may not feel that connection. But the connection is there. So I think even my goal is to get to that level where I feel like that.
But most people would just say, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy?
I think that would test is if you showed that much kindness towards other people.
Yeah.
Right. Other people are more difficult. True.
Yeah.
Other
If
people
you
are
were
more
that
difficult.
nice to me,
Uh-oh, I think we're going into a different territory.
Oh, no. You know, I mean, relationships are where this really comes into play. The practice in relationships.
Divisive speech.
That's a good question. Is emptiness relationship or is emptiness loving relationship or both?
Emptiness is dependent arising, so it could be, you know, things can dependently arise in a bad way due to bad causes. You know, things can dependently arise in a wonderful way due to wonderful causes. You know, so the causes, the intention behind the causes, all of those really matter. If the intention is, you know, simply for self-interest, then that the result will be that.
Hey, does anybody on Zoom out there in all the various parts of the world have anything they feel like they need to add or would like to add to this emptiness and stuff?
To this empty conversation.
I have something that came to mind regarding intention. I have a friend of mine who has been a practicing Buddhist for a very long time. And he was telling me that when he got married to his wife, he was a vegetarian, but she wasn't. And he made her promise if she was going to eat meat, she couldn't eat shrimp. It was okay if she ate beef, but she couldn't eat shrimp because the intention of harming multiple little animals was just like one was really important for him. And I thought, you know, the whole idea of killing bugs and killing things, that was just kind of something that came to mind.
Well,
it's always stuck with me. Every time I eat shrimp, I think of that, and it just doesn't taste quite as good.
Yeah.
Nicer in a bag.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that same reasoning and feel the same way, kind of eating shrimp. And I know it's interesting because this whole samsara realm is eat or be eaten. That's what it is, and we have to survive. So what these great monks do? Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who tried to eat as little as possible because he just tried to eat as little as possible. But when he did eat, he would always bless the being or wherever this came from. He said he was even telling the students who said, well, we'll just eat vegetables. He said, you know how many bugs are on these vegetables that you can't even see, that when you rinse them off to clean them, you're killing the bugs. You know, thousands.
I just read this the other day.
So he always blessed it. So that's the way you just bless your food, bless the being that gave you, you know, this opportunity to continue to live. In other words,
nothing.
Yeah.
Who's about dependent or how crops are grown and all the stages of.
Oh yeah, anybody who's done gardening knows all about this. Knows all about the bugs, and knows all about how do we. If you're a Buddhist gardener, it becomes a very, very challenging. Very challenging.
I have no hair left.
No hair left. Don is managing the vegetable garden now, and he's seeing all of that.
Yeah. If I had to depend on that for my food, I'd be skinny. Very.
So if we release our self-centered habits, if we're patient, you know, with difficult people, if we give more than feels comfortable for us to give, things like that will reduce our future suffering. They will expand our heart. They will expand our compassion. If we practice this, if we do this, and it will build resilience in us, and ultimately freedom. Because in some ways we can feel very trapped by our own habits, our own self-centered habits, our own self-centered desires. This is like, I'll never be able to be free of this free of this neediness. But if we just practice, over time, it loosens up. Over time, we will be freed of that. Over time, we will develop these qualities, you know, with this intention. That's, I think, what's being stressed here. That it's not a, you know, overnight we're going to change. That's what we all want. We want instant gratification, instant something. We're so used to it. We're habituated to it. It's Buddhism saying that's really not the way things work. If you're going to change a very ingrained habit of self-centeredness, well, that's going to take, you're going to have to take these little small steps. But these little small steps, if you keep doing it, will get you to where you want to be. That's how it works. But we want to just go zoom and be there. And it can't happen that way. It's impossible. It won't. We just need to let go of that idea. Be comfortable with that idea. Be comfortable with just the process rather than always being goal-oriented. I have to reach this in so much time. I'll be enlightened in 3 weeks' time, or in this lifetime or something like that. Drop the goal and just stay on the path consistently. And what you will see is transformations you never dreamed would happen. Like you'd be crying over a bug, I mean, that's a little, you kind of have to wonder,
Like I said,
That's a lot of projection onto a bug. Oh, my darling, you don't think I'd cry over you?
it's me. My job is, of course, I'm like the thorn in your side. It's my 100% job.
It started out that way. I'm very appreciative of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder what his karma was for that.
Well, we could all ask ourselves the same question of any relationship we have, right?
Wouldn't it be amazing if we were clairvoyant and we knew all that? It would probably drive us off the way. We wouldn't have to know that.
What?
So let's see, where are we? So a clarification here from Nagarjuna is it doesn't mean that we are going to look for suffering, because we have to transform it, or we're going to just ignore our limitations that we actually have. We don't want to ignore those, and we do not want to neglect taking care of ourselves. Like if you can get to the point where it's all about others, where you're actually neglecting your own health. It can get to that point, and Nagarjuna is not saying that. He's saying that when meaningful challenges arise on a path of growth, they are worth it. If your intention, on this path of Buddhism, is to grow all the way to a Buddha, to become a Buddha for the benefit and happiness of all beings, then if challenges arise on that path, then they're very meaningful. They're important, and they're worth investing your time and effort into those challenges, because your intention, because of the path you're on, the steps you're taking, is about becoming enlightened for the benefit and happiness of all beings. So anything that comes up that is a difficulty or a challenge is very, very, very important, because you've changed your direction, you've changed your path. And so your intention now with this difficulty that arises is going to be completely different. You're going to have a whole new framework of looking at it, whatever the problem may be, a whole new framework of how to view it, and how can this be turned around to be beneficial. That's a big, big, big step. And that's all occurring in our consciousness. It's not occurring out there. It's occurring in our consciousness. It's exact the same thing as practicing. And we're changing our intention and our focus for what our goal is, and that will change everything. Relationships, everything. It will change it. So it isn't easy. It isn't easy, but it will transform our lives. We will transform our lives if we have this intention. It doesn't mean facing difficulties is easy, but it means they will transform into something wonderful. Eventually, Okay. So the Bodhisattva path is not about sacrifice for its own sake. It's about trading small, temporary discomfort for a vast, lasting benefit. Small, temporary discomfort, like medicine.
And it's not really comfort, possibly, if you look at it. we're not really comfortable in samsara.
No, we're not.
That's the question, is it seems to be more familiar. We're familiar or complacent, possibly.
It's almost like in samsara, we're comfortable in our neediness. We're always wanting, we're always needy. Things are never enough. We're looking for the next thing, the next TV show, the next meal, the next trip. It's always more, more, more. And we think that is bringing us comfort, but it actually never does. It's only temporary, and it vanishes quickly, because what happens is we go on this trip, we have all these wonderful expectations of what the trip would be, and then we find all the things that are wrong that we criticize, starting with the plane ride, and so it doesn't become a comfort. Part of it's wonderful, and we paint a picture in our memory, but if we actually look back, there's always little difficulties along the way. And all these things that we need and want and grasp after. So I think what we would be released from ultimately is that neediness, which we mistake as being our comfort zone.
That's when I feel comfortable, I want others to feel comfortable. When I'm comfortable, I'm more apt to be generous. I'm more apt to be thinking of others when I'm comfortable. I want everyone to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we're needy, we're just thinking, I don't know, you can even turn that around, because you can turn neediness into how I need to find a way to make this whole situation work better. All of the people, all the relationships. So therefore, you're transforming your neediness with an intention for the benefit of others into something much different. And so it goes beyond neediness to actually being of benefit. Yeah. Interesting. Where are we now? Oh, good. So a thing for us to think about is, just for yourself, pick one difficulty in your life right now that might actually be helping you grow in compassion and wisdom. One difficulty in your life right now that could actually be helping you grow in compassion and wisdom. And I'm sure each one of us can quickly think of something like that. And what that does, that thought, what that does is it turns it around from being a problem or an annoyance into an opportunity to grow, to change the way we think about the problem, change the way we approach the problem. Could be anything. But that's an interesting way to think about it. So these verses, they're challenging, but they're also reminding us that misunderstanding here in this samsaric realm is quite natural. We misunderstand just about everything. And yet we think we know it all, So it's very natural that we misunderstand. Growth takes time. It just does. We see that. We can see it in nature. Growth takes time. We can see it with humans. Growth takes time. So the path is huge. The Mahayana path is huge and vast, but it's also very, very deeply meaningful on every level, as we've been discussing. It's about who we are, how we experience what life is. It's about our relationships, how to make all of that work. And it's not just, one-on-one relationships, it's relationships with everything, everyone, every being. How we look upon things. When we're out in traffic, rather than flipping the bird and, calling somebody an asshole, go, oh, wow, what might they be going through in their life? Where they need a little compassion, a little understanding. That's just turns the whole thing around, where you yourself don't get so riled up. You just sort of back off, get out of the way, whatever, but not make it worse. By layering on our own attachment and aversion to it. It's big. It's a big practice, and it takes consistent effort because we're so accustomed to projecting our own attachment and aversion onto everything. This is what we do. You know, I love this. I can't stand that. If that can't be true, because if somebody hates what you love and loves what you can't stand, then that's not truth.
Mm.
That's just interpretation.
Mm.
And we can change. We can change. It may seem like impossible. It may seem, no, this goes against my nature, but it's not true. We can change. Our nature is actually impermanent. Our nature is impermanent.
So if I have a writers group that I attended, and they just ended up in a conversation, and they mentioned like 4 things that they hate, which those 4 things I love. So I felt right away like, thank God I didn't say I love Fiesta or something, whatever, the Spurs or something, because they mentioned these 4 things and absolutely hate them, and I absolutely love them. So should I stay in the group? Or because my first thought to him, I came home and I said, I don't think I can belong to this writers group because I can't say anything because they hate everything I love. So should I stay in the group or should I not? Should I not go back? I mean, it's kind of like, should I try to compassionately love them?
Well,
Or should I grow? Is this a growing thing?
comes back to what's your intention of to be in that group? What's the intention?
To write, to express myself through writing.
And why the group? Why is that part of your
Well,
intention?
it's just a writers group that
Yeah.
at the library.
But no, really analyze it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something for you to learn from.
But you're saying things that happen are lessons, kind of like lessons, or maybe you can grow.
Sure.
So should I stay in the group to grow my compassion for them, or should I just walk away when things are just
Good question.
I mean,
what they hate, I think it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that are just like are no brainer. It's like I can't deal.
Well, if what they hate is actually going to cause harm, if they're intending harm to something, then that's not going to be good. If it's just something that they hate that you happen to like, but it's not causing harm either way, then there really isn't a problem. There really isn't a problem. It's a point of view. But there could also be a lot to learn and grow from by being in that group. It's really up to you.
Yeah.
It's really up to you. If you feel so uncomfortable that you can't actually learn and grow, then, step out of it.
One of the things we say is that you always should separate the action. And so you can have compassion for the actor. You can have love and compassion and kindness and equanimity towards the actor, but you don't have to agree with the action. And, you can still treat somebody who you disagree with, in a very positive way. You don't have to embrace their belief system.
Right.
And say that if you don't change to my belief system, then.
Yeah, and I'm willing to walk across the aisle, as they say in politics. I don't think they would turn me the same favor, because I think nowadays everything is either you're in or you're out or whatever, so
Right.
I would still be hiding, and I don't like being out.
But Brian's point is an excellent one. It's a point in Buddhism used all the time. And I see this within family situations. In our own family, there are big divisions along political lines, and then comes along, somebody who's in the middle. So how do you deal with that? You love the family, you love the person. You may not love their beliefs or their actions, but you love the person. And so it doesn't mean pull away from them. That's the last thing you really want to do, especially in a family situation. You don't want to pull away. You want to find ways how to bring everybody together. That's one of the reasons Kavita and I were doing the Bossa Nova thing. And it was particularly for our family, has completely, they're so locked into one view and so hateful about the other view that it's like, what needs to happen here is love. What needs to happen here is connection and enjoyment. And how do we is there something we could do?
Agree on or.
Yeah, that we could all enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so we sort of hit upon that, and
that's good.
Which includes loving yourself, which means compassion means suffering or passion together. So you also maintaining your healthy boundaries and going, okay, I tried, and I I love the person, and at the same time, this isn't for me because they continue to complain, and I don't want to be part of that. To listen to yourself,
Yeah.
to love yourself as well.
Yeah. So it's really, really up to you.
Yeah.
And you could probably find another writers group.
Yeah.
But they may be agreeing with you and hating the ones
Well,
that
yeah. That's okay.
Right, exactly.
People that say the same thing. I think that's
Exactly.
boring, I think.
One of the things, that is always talked about in the highest view is Madhyamaka, and that means middle way. You walk the middle way. It's like walking a tightrope between two extremes. It's the middle way. And that middle way is the way that one can maneuver through situations like that. This is what I always try to do that. I keep my mouth shut a lot.
Yeah, Christopher doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm cornered and I'm asked,
And in a social gathering, he's pretty.
I mean, by our family, I was cornered and asked, what do you think about so and such political thing? And so they're all there and I'm sitting there and I'm going, well, I think there's a problem on both sides. And I think both sides are playing all of us against the middle. And we're the ones, we should not be fighting with one another because of what's going on in this larger political arena. And I truly believe that. It was from my heart, honest. And they accepted it. There was no, we didn't get into a fight or anything like that. But it was a confrontation. It was amazing. And it was all of them.
Wow.
And you used wisdom rather than.
But the wisdom, it was something I had learned from Buddhism, and so I was actually trying to live it. So it seemed very natural for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like being trapped in Sicily.
Oh my God.
By a bunch of Italians from New York.
It's a lot.
I want to eat tonight.
Where's the airport?
But it was fine. I mean, there was no problem. They were just very suspicious that I wasn't joining in on all of the bashing of whoever they were bashing. I just didn't want to be part of it.
That was your
So
confirmation.
that suspicion led to, what are your views? We want to hear it now.
I know
It's whose side do you want? I said, I'm right down the middle because I think both sides are playing a game with us, and I truly do. I truly think that. So, and they were okay because at least I, didn't like one of the
I
sides.
invited them back.
Okay, sure. Are we? We're just about done. Let's see. Maybe we can wrap this. Yes, let's wrap this up. Just with this thought. A life centered on compassion and wisdom isn't just idealistic. When you're talking about the compassion and wisdom as it is explained in the Mahayana path, it's not just idealistic. It is the most realistic way. Realistic in terms of the nature of reality, the realistic way to create some harmony in this very complex and divided world that we live in. Even if we bring the harmony with us wherever we go, even if we're in a situation where people are bashing one another or bashing, a whole group of a particular view get together and they feel, oh, they're happy, they're in their little echo chamber. And so it's just reinforcing a view that's actually not helpful. Well, we can bring this Mahayana view with us wherever we go, and we will bring, at least we won't be dividing more. We'll try and find a way to bring things together, and I think that's what we can take away from this part of the section today. Yeah. Okay. Any closing prayers?
I guess we can.
Or we can have a few more discussion. We have 4 minutes for more discussion. Anybody has something they want to add or say? Okay.
Does anybody have any?
Didn't you just say?
Okay,
no?
well-
No, we don't.
I don't know
So
if you
4
really
minutes for
know.
closing is probably fine.
Let's see. I don't think we've sent this out in an email yet, that, due to Brian's valiant efforts and contacts in Minnesota, we'll have 3 monks here making a San mandala dedicated to Avalokiteshvara, and that's going to start, there'll be a week starting on June 28th through July 4th or 5th, kind of odd timing. They're gonna leave on the 5th. I'd love to see a little something on the morning of the 5th, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Probably will conclude on the 4th. We'll see. We don't, yeah. Anywho, so mark your calendars. It's on the website already. But June 28th.
It'll be here.
Here,
Mhm.
yeah, here.
It might even be where you're sitting.
No.
We don't know where it's going to be.
Gonna have it on the table or?
We're going to have to make a platform for it.
I think, if I understand, Brian's
Having Tom do it.
Yes.
From, say, how it lasts and just keep it, once it's done at the center here.
We'll have to
Yeah.
post it to the time.
I mean, I'll have to talk more with Geshe Nima about that because I don't know how.
Yeah, but this is in Tracy's on.
Oh,
yeah.
You see the preserve past there.
Be hard to see.
And then I just think, there's such beautiful pieces of art
Yeah.
that, for the center.
You spray that with glue or what?
Yeah.
Fix it.
When I was in Nepal, I had an idea that they have a lot of those shops, very old, ancient shops where they did this.
Yeah.
But once they finish, they take a imprint of it, and then and then they destroy, of course. But then they sell those imprints. I bought one and I got it here. And then they have the ones making it sign and all that, and put a prayer in it, and then they sell. That's one of the techniques they do back in Nepal.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally,
Imprint it.
they're not supposed to be preserved.
They destroy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They're supposed to let it go because things are impermanent. It's a sign of
San Antonio River like 21 years ago.
So I guess probably we'll talk with Geshe Nima about what he wants us to do in that regard.
Brian will talk with Geshe.
Well, I will too. I'll ask you.
Well, we need to.
Another one on my list.
The dilemma is, now we're getting into the weeds here. Let's say we have a 4x4 sand mandala in this room. How do you get it anywhere else?
Right.
4 people to carry it.
No, but without the sand
But
all
you
spilling,
can't
you'd have to
take
turn
it.
it sideways to get it through the door.
Take your doors off.
We don't have 48. We don't have any 48.
I thought you put double doors in the thing there.
I asked him to,
Well, there you go.
but Christopher and Tom laughed at me,
Oh.
so it's not happening. Because there's really no.
You can't.
There's no.
They-
you know.
They'd be too short. The roof comes down.
Anyway.
It's already low.
So
So we'll talk with Geshe Nima about it.
we could even rent a tent that was.
Could they do it out on the patio?
It's too hot.
Well, it's being hot.
It has to be close.
Oh.
It has to be close because of wind. I mean,
Oh.
you
Yeah.
can see like.
Oh, yeah.
If you have somewhere you can just leave it as it is and preserve, that would keep the sands intact.
Yeah,
But that's
Moving it, I don't see how you can.
No,
yeah. Yeah, it needs to be
Sand
built.
particles.
Yeah.
Unless somebody knows how to like use epoxy and somehow amazingly.
Yeah, spray it.
Or some, but that would be very toxic.
They could probably, toxic.
Yeah.
Like a paint on top, like a glossy.
Or spray.
Or
They'd have. I
start
don't.
with a glue.
I don't know how you do it because even if you spray, it's going to spray the sand.
Yeah.
You know.
That's,
I mean, what did they do in BC?
Well, they made it out of beads, not out of sand, so it's covered with plastic beads.
Oh.
And
Well,
then
there you go.
They spray it glue. And-
Okay, well,
So,
I guess we can. Do you want just some brief closing? It's all very interesting, but
The idea of building a new building out there, I think that would be perfect.
air conditioned with a toilet. Let's run a line.
Continue this conversation. I like your smile.
You know, I don't mean to say that it belongs, but you know, if you look at Lama yesterday, and you know what he did in Copan, where he started just doing one simple building. We just started building one simple building, and we build another one, another one, another one, another one, and they don't have to be very ornate or very.
No, I agree. I
Yeah.
think we could whip out a quick 12 by 12.
Well, you could.
Weatherized.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can talk to it faster than Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom, it would be 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now.
Okay, let's stop. We love you all.
All right, some dedication prayer, please.
And Arthur.
You're still here.
Hi, Arthur.
Okay, well, we heard a lot of interesting things today, and so this wisdom wing of that informs our compassionate action. We only have these two things: our thoughts and our actions. And so, may anyone. This is the Guru dedication, but we're going to start on the second verse. May anyone who either sees or hears, remembers, touches, or talks to me, be instantly freed from all sufferings and abide in happiness forever. It is only from the kindness of my Guru that I have met the peerless teachings of the Buddha. Thus I dedicate all merit, so that all sentient beings in the future may be guided by kind and holy Gurus. Let's remember His Holiness the Dalai Lama with these verses. Prayer for the long life of His Holiness, who has made our study and exposure to the Dharma possible through his life.
Absolutely.
In the snowy mountain paradise, you are the source of all goodness and happiness. Powerful innocent Gyaso Tenri, may we stay to the samsara ends. And I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, our wonderful Zoomer people.
Okay,
Thank you.
trip plans coming.
They're coming. We're hoping to get the ticket today.
Yeah, all right.
Well,
Yeah,
where is she, in Dallas?
I'll
Austin?
end the recording. Let's see.
Austin.
Okay. Well, if worse comes, I don't mean to put it this way, but if nothing else, I'll come drive up there and we can have breakfast, lunch, or dinner or something.